Hi everyone, back to more YouTube channels. Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day. And the media muppets have returned. I've already blown my stack about Steve Bruce, and now it's the turn again of Jamie Carragher. That's right, Jamie Carragher has been lipping off on stick to football, which is generally what he probably should do, but not when he has an opinion as stupid as the one that he's just expressed in his current podcast alongside Roy Keane, Gary Neville, Ian Wright, and I believe it was David, is it Ornstein from The Athletic, who hates Newcastle anyway. So let's be brutally honest with that. Let's get stuck into what he said. So what did Jamie Carragher say? So Jamie Carragher was talking about the loan vote that's just been bombed out, and then all the clubs have voted against him, and a lot of them were all bitching amongst each other. I don't understand it. I just can't believe it. You know, it's corrupt. It's a way of getting on the FFP. It's what it is. I mean, yeah, they wouldn't say that if it was Manchester United or Liverpool or Arsenal for sure. Wright, Keane, Neville, Carragher, the whole lot of them, they're a bunch of hypocrites. They wouldn't say a goddamn thing if it was their clubs that could potentially benefit from this ruling. But let's get into what he really said, that a lot of Newcastle fans are kind of scratching their head about. So he's talking about this potential loan deal for Ruben Neves. It's been punted around, and it was kind of what lit the blue touch paper about this whole thing anyway. Dan Ashworth put it out there to see what the football community would do. I think Dan Ashworth knew fine well what the football community was going to do, and credit to him, crafty bastard that you are, Dan. Good on you. He knew this vote was going to go in the favour of Newcastle United because he knew all of the clubs had something to lose if this went through. You know, all 8 or 9 of them or whoever voted for it. That's exactly why he pushed the button on that. But listen, we don't even know if Newcastle United are going to sign Ruben Neves for one. You sure as shit don't know, Jamie Carragher, if we don't know as Newcastle fans. But he's throwing this out there and he's saying that Newcastle United signed Sandro Tonali. They didn't do their due diligence enough on him. They didn't look into his personal life enough on him. Now they've lost that player. They should be punished for that. They shouldn't be able to loan a player like Ruben Neves, who's a £50 million player, from the Saudi League. So let's just pause that for a minute and unpack that whole scenario there, okay? So, number one, Carragher, how the fuck do you not know Newcastle didn't do their due diligence? Were you involved in the negotiations? No, you weren't. So why don't you wind your neck in on that one for number one? Number two, what if they did do their due diligence? What if they did everything that they could do, everything that they should do, and Sandro Tonali himself didn't disclose it? There's a personal issue here. There's a personal integrity question. I've asked it. Mark's asked it. Loads of other fans have asked it. If Sandro Tonali knew this was hanging over his head like the sword of Damocles, why didn't he fucking tell Newcastle when the negotiations were going on? There's a question that's more pertinent for you to ask than throwing it back to Newcastle United. He then turns around and says we shouldn't be able to sign Ruben Neves on loan, right? Secondly, nobody's even talking about this, right? None of these lot are talking about this. They preach about players' mental health and state of mind and everything else. By the sound of it, Ruben Neves isn't really settled over in Saudi Arabia. He's maybe feeling sad and low. His family are feeling sad and low. They want to come back to England. Nobody's talking about this. It's all about Newcastle benefiting and fiddling financial fair play, as Gary Neville said. You know, why don't you look at that as a more important thing now? And we don't even know if they're going to sign Ruben Neves. We might not even do that deal. Arsenal are linked to Ruben Neves, but I don't hear anybody bitching about that. But it's because we're owned by the same owners as what they're all whinging about. They went to attack Forest, they attacked Wolves, and everybody else in this as well. But what made me laugh was if Manchester United voted against this because of the Nice connections with Sir Jim Radcliffe, Neville would have said, fuck all. I didn't watch the whole thing, so I don't know if he did say something about Nice. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But from what I saw, I kind of fast forwarded to the Newcastle bit because I wanted to really understand this before I got on and did the rant about it. But if they went and signed Todibo, the centre-half that we've been linked to from Nice, on loan for free because Jim Radcliffe owns, the club, has a stake in the club, whatever, Neville would say, fuck all. He'd just be happy that they got somebody who's got more legs than Varane and more defensive capabilities than Maguire. He would say bollocks all. He'd be happy that they signed a player, and he'd be waxing lyrically about him probably on Monday Night Football. And the same with Carragher as well. If Liverpool owned another club, he'd be saying fuck all about this. It's all about their clubs that they're connected to. They're so hypocritical when it comes to stuff like this. I really like them as pundits. I really do. They offer really good opinions a lot of the time, and they're probably some of the best in the game. But when it comes to talking about their elite links to their clubs, they're very, very hypocritical. Neville's panned Manchester United, but Jesus H. Christ, Stevie Wonder can see how bad Manchester United are. He had to do that as a pundit, or he would have lost his fucking job. But this whole thing with Carragher, I don't agree with what he's saying at all. Part of it, he's maybe got a point. If Newcastle haven't done due diligence on Tonali, then that is on them. No doubt about that, right? But if this has been voted against by the Premier League clubs, it's been voted against by the Premier League clubs. You haven't got a goddamn thing to say about it, Carragher. You can say you don't agree with it, is fine, but you shouldn't be demanding names on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it's called now and trying to hold people to account. It's not your place to do it. Those football clubs have interconnections with other people, and Gary Neville's right. It is a way to get around FFP. But when people are losing points and potentially going to go under because of it and get sued by other clubs like Everton are going to be, why wouldn't they breach financial fair play? Why wouldn't they try and get around it? You know, they haven't got copious commercial deals that the likes of Manchester United and City and Liverpool have enjoyed for the past 15, 20 years because they've been dining at the top table and they've had the ear of the Premier League. The Premier League wants money into it. It welcomes money into it. Doesn't matter where that money comes from. It's been the same for 20 odd years, as Keane rightly said in that episode. Thank fuck he was there. Probably the only person with a brain cell amongst a lot of them, to be honest with you. But this whole thing, the Saudi deal, this will not go away. The all Saudi loan deals. If we do end up getting a player or two from Saudi Arabia, these fuckers will erupt. The tears will flow from the eyes of Carragher, Neville, Arteta, Klopp, all the usual moany-faced bastards that just want it all their own way and they don't want anybody else to enjoy the spoils and the loopholes that these motherfuckers have enjoyed for the past 25 years. So I don't agree with what Carragher's saying. If the club are at fault, the club should come out and say that they're at fault. But they're not at fault. I don't believe they are. I think these guys are so meticulous that they did all their due diligence. The big question there is a personal one about Sandro Tonali not disclosing the fact that he could get done for this. And that's probably the more pertinent question. So why don't you lot look a little bit deeper than your fucking bias against your own clubs? Stop getting bitchy about Newcastle possibly coming and taking your spot in the elite of the Premier League and look at it like journalists and not former players of the clubs you're trying to defend. That's my thoughts on that, guys. Done with the rant today. If this is the kind of thing you like, smash that button. Come and join us. Subscribe. We're really close to 6K. Would love you to get us there over Christmas. All free content on the Evermore YouTube channel. But if you do want to become a member and give a little something back to help support us so we can bring you this great content, there is a membership option there for $1.99 a month. Less than 2 pints. 2 pints? 1 pint. 1 pint. Can you imagine getting 2 pints for £2? My God, I'd never be out that bar. Yeah, less than a pint of lager. Get me teeth right here. Going back from rant mode to normal mode. Sorry, guys. But yeah, it's $1.99 a month, so cheap as chips. If you fancy giving a little bit back, we really appreciate it. Like the video, help it grow, recommend us to family and friends and everybody else. We'll be back with some more Newcastle content soon. Have a bella. See you later. Cheers. Bye.